Let's bring in New York City native Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, who's running for governor in the Sunshine State. I have, I guess, one question. You've publicly described Democrats and led spending packages as socialistic. How do you define socialism in America?
It's when the government gets too big, it crowds out private investment. You have Democrats who decide they want to use the powers of government over corporate interests, over small business interests. They take away the ability of working families to keep food on the table because the taxes are too high, the regulations are too broad, and people cannot make ends meet. That's what socialism is from the Democrat Party. And it's worse with Mamdani. This guy is a communist. His plans will not work. They've never worked anywhere around the globe. And if you think it's going to work in New York City, it's simply not. I understand people are concerned about the prices. You could blame Joe Biden and the Democrat Party for that. Going from Democrat to communist is not going to save New York City. It's only going to make matters worse.
President Obama gave Mamdani a phone call, but not an endorsement, which will his laugh riot for days and weeks to come. But President Obama was down over the weekend in Norfolk, along with Abigail Spanberger. So Jay Jones showed up as well. You know, he wants to assassinate the opponent, a Republican opponent, and his children. At least he thought about it in text. But tonight, President Trump is holding tele-rallies for New Jersey races and also for Virginia. And Byron, you have campaigned for Jack Ciattarelli as well. If Ciattarelli and even Jason Miyares win for AG in Virginia, this will be just blue tears cried by the Democrats.
You're absolutely right, but the Democrats only have themselves to blame. What are they campaigning on? They're campaigning on hatred of Donald Trump, who, by the way, is the peace president, who, by the way, has secured the border, who, by the way, has our economy growing again. The country is actually going in a wonderful direction, and they're running against that. This is why Jack Ciattarelli needs to be the next governor of New Jersey, because Mikey Sherrill, she's a radical, just like Nancy Pelosi, just like AOC. She took all the same votes. Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, same thing, a radical. The same issues that are perplexing the American people will not change if Spanberger and Sherrill are the governors of those states. Vote Jack Ciattarelli, vote Winsome Sears.
Well, Congressman, I know that you're thinking about running for governor. You are running for governor. We're all excited about that. If this was happening in Miami and Orlando and Tampa and Jacksonville, something like what's happening in New York City, what would you do differently?
Well, first of all, let me be clear. It's not going to happen in Florida.
But if it did.
Because in Florida,
but if it did.
No, it's not. We have a foundation of conservative, common sense policy in Florida. Ron DeSantis has done a tremendous job leading our state. Our state legislature, state senate, over the decades has been committed to common sense policy. It's not happening in Florida because the people of Florida understand what capitalism and freedom and opportunity means. That's why they keep coming to Florida. That's why we have a 1.4 million voter advantage over the Democrats in our state.
Well, in Congress, there was a bill to refute socialism and it failed. You've talked about that. What does that say about the state of the economy and the debate about the economy in Washington?
Well, look, in Washington, we have a problem with debates overall. In the Senate, we have this logjam because Senate Democrats would rather still go down this socialist line of spending too much money, which is going to decrease purchasing power for the American people. This is why I agree with President Trump calling for an end to the filibuster, because the filibuster does not promote debate in the Senate. What it does is it promotes obstruction in the Senate. Let's not even talk about the economy. Talk about the visas right now, HB1 visas. These are a scam on American workers. American workers have been displaced because of these HB1 visas. It needs to end. But are you going to get reforms to all the visa programs in the United States without being able to get it through the United States Senate? No, you will not. You need to be able to work with people who want to do the right thing on behalf of the American people. The Democrats have proven time and again they only want their radical agenda, and if they don't get their way, they're going to follow Chuck Schumer and just shut the government down. This is not working for the American people. That's why they're frustrated. They want costs down, they want opportunity, they want freedom, and you're not getting that with arcane rules in the United States Senate that don't allow the Senate to work and represent the will of the American people.
Congressman, you brought up the getting rid of the filibuster. You know, that's a nuclear option that could open the door for the Democrats to do a lot of harm. But what I do think, I always think about the genius of President Trump, and the fact that he's talking about the filibuster. That is exactly what the Democrats in the Senate are doing. They are filibustering this continuing resolution. When it is passed out of the House, they voted it down, more than a dozen times in the Senate. They're filibustering this to try and prop up a bunch of half-assed candidates in places like the Commonwealth of Virginia and Jersey. It's a filibuster. That's brilliant on his part to call it, to start talking about it what it is.
Look, Dagan, I want to go through. You are absolutely right. What's going on in the United States Senate now is that it is better for the Democrats just to obstruct than actually work on real common sense solution. Donald Trump came into office. He secured our border. We have 0 illegal border crossings. But let me inform the American people. Those are executive orders from President Trump. In order for his policy on the southern border to become law, you got to get it through the Senate, which means you have to clear the filibuster. The Senate Democrats are not going to allow his border policies to become law because they opposed it. They supported Joe Biden and his radical border policies. That's reason number one. Reason number two, I just mentioned visas. HB1s are a scam. It needs to end. If you're going to reform visas, you got to be able to get rid of the filibuster to do it the right way for the American people. And we can go down the list. Energy, spending policy, etc. Regulatory burdens in the United States of America on every business, large and small.
That's right.
The obstructionists are the Senate Democrats because they follow Bernie Sanders, they follow Elizabeth Warren, they follow AOC, and the crazy radical Marxist left. And at this point in American history, and I get it, let me clear this up for everybody. And I know people are concerned about the filibuster. Here's the facts. If the Democrats have the trifecta, they're going to use it. They're going to get rid of the filibuster. They're going to pack the courts. They're going to make D.C. a state. And they're going to change every election law in this country so they hard code America into universal Democrat control for as far as the eye can see. The Democrats have said this. They're on the record. That's their plan. That's their position.
Right.
And so I take them at their word, which is why we need to push common sense policy. It's time for the filibuster to go.
Well, we see that they're willing to starve people for political power and deprive them of food stamps. And we see them willing to put people's airline safety at risk for their own political
and the federal
power
workers.
grab.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Congressman
That's absolutely right.
Byron Donalds, and Florida's never going left because of all those Cuban refugees who live down there. They remember, and the people who fled Venezuela. Good to see you, sir.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.